The night was quiet, the city winding down after a long day. Neon signs flickered in the distance, while a fine drizzle fell steadily, coating the empty streets in a sheen of silver. Michael Hayes, a man whose face was on business magazines but whose heart carried an invisible weight, drove slowly through the rain. He had everything money could buy: private jets, penthouses, boardrooms full of people who followed his every word, but when the doors closed and the lights dimmed, he returned home to silence. He had spent the evening at a gala, surrounded by people in glittering clothes, laughing too loudly and clinking glasses filled with champagne. Yet he had stood there with a practiced smile, feeling utterly detached. For years, he had buried himself in work to avoid acknowledging how lonely he had become. Tonight, however, the emptiness gnawed at him more fiercely than usual. As his car rolled past a nearly deserted bus stop, something caught his eye. A fragile figure sat hunched forward on the bench. A young woman in a nurse's uniform, her thin sweater no match for the cold, cradled a small baby against her chest. Her hair clung to her damp cheeks, her shoulders trembling. Michael's instinct told him to keep driving. After all, it wasn't his business. But then the baby let out a weak, pained cry, piercing through the night like a desperate plea. Michael slowed to a stop, debating with himself. The rational side said it wasn't his responsibility. Yet the human side, the one he often tried to silence, overpowered him. He stepped out of his luxury car, the cold rain instantly soaking his tailored suit. "Miss, are you all right?" His voice was calm, but she flinched as though expecting danger. Emily looked up, her wide eyes full of fear and exhaustion. "I'm fine," she whispered quickly, though her voice trembled. She held her baby closer, as though shielding him from a stranger. Michael crouched down, ignoring the puddle beneath him. "You're shivering. And your baby?" He glanced at the infant wrapped in a blanket far too thin for the freezing weather. "He looks cold." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. For weeks, she had been holding everything together, working long hospital shifts, skipping meals to save money, and praying her child wouldn't fall sick. Tonight, with nowhere else to go, she had hoped the bus would take her to a friend's place, but the last bus had already left. Now she was stranded. I don't have anywhere to go," she admitted, her pride finally cracking. "I lost my apartment after paying my mother's medical bills. I thought, maybe I could stay with someone, but," she stopped, her throat tightening. "It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out." Michael's heart twisted. Here was a woman who had given her life to caring for others as a nurse, now sitting in the cold with her child, abandoned by the world. He had met countless people chasing his money, yet this stranger, with nothing but a baby in her arms, carried more dignity and strength than any of them. Without thinking, he reached out and gently adjusted the blanket around the baby. "You shouldn't be out here," he said softly. "Come with me. I can help." Emily shook her head instantly. "No, I don't know you. I can't." Her words faltered, her eyes searching his face for signs of cruelty. Michael didn't push. Instead, he simply stood there, rain dripping from his hair, his tone steady but sincere. "I won't hurt you. I promise. Just let me give your baby some warmth." Her baby let out another soft cry, this time sharper, hungrier. Emily's chest ached. She wanted to run, but where? She wanted to trust, but how? The decision weighed heavier than anything she had faced. And yet, deep inside, something in the man's eyes told her he wasn't lying. For Michael, it was. The first time in years he had felt a pull in his heart, not business-driven, not ambition-fueled, but purely human. That rainy night, under the dim glow of the bus stop, two broken souls crossed paths, one shivering in despair, the other drowning in loneliness. Neither knew it, but this encounter was about to change everything. Emily sat frozen on the bus stop bench, her baby's soft whimpers cutting through the patter of rain. The tall man in front of her, Michael Hayes, though she didn't yet know his name, had just spoken the words that both terrified and tempted her: "Come with me. I can help." Her heart pounded wildly. She had heard stories all her life about people who took advantage of desperate women, about promises that turned into traps. She couldn't afford to be naive, not with her baby depending on her. Yet, her entire body ached with exhaustion. Her son's cheeks were cold against her chest. Every instinct screamed that she had to protect him, but another instinct whispered that this stranger might be her only chance. "I can't," she whispered, clutching her baby tighter. Her eyes darted toward the road, wishing another bus would appear and whisk her away. Michael didn't move closer. He stayed a respectful distance, his tone gentle but firm. I understand why you don't trust me. You shouldn't trust strangers. But your baby needs warmth, food, a safe place. I can give you that. Nothing more. The way he said, nothing more, made her pause. He wasn't leering at her like other men sometimes did. Instead, he looked at her child with an expression she couldn't quite read, something between concern and longing. Still, doubt not at her. She had survived by being careful, by saying no when things felt wrong. And yet, every fiber of her being told her she couldn't make it through the night in the rain with her baby. Michael noticed her hesitation and didn't push further. Instead, he slowly slipped off his heavy designer coat, crouched down again, and draped it gently over the baby. At least let him stay warm while you decide, he murmured. His hands, steady and careful, tucked the coat around the tiny body. Emily's throat tightened. It had been so long since anyone had shown her kindness without expecting something in return. She glanced at the man's face in the dim light, strong jawline, tired eyes, but softened by a sincerity she hadn't expected. Her baby let out a sigh, settling into the warmth of the coat. Tears stung her eyes. She hated feeling weak, hated needing help, but her love for her child outweighed her pride. I don't even know your name, she said finally, her voice trembling. Michael, he answered. Michael Hayes. He extended his hand but then lowered it, realizing she was too busy holding her baby to respond. Instead, he added quietly, you don't have to tell me yours until you're ready. Emily studied him carefully. The name sounded familiar, perhaps she had seen it in a newspaper headline or on a billboard, but right now, he wasn't a CEO or some powerful figure. He was just a man standing in the rain, offering warmth. She bit her lip, torn between fear and hope. And if I go with you, what then? Then you'll have a roof over your head tonight, he said simply. A warm bed for your baby. Food. Nothing else is expected of you. Tomorrow, if you want to leave, I'll drive you wherever you need to go. No strings attached. The words, no strings attached, hit her like a wave. No one had ever offered her anything without expecting something back. Still, her guard was up. People don't just help for no reason. Michael's eyes darkened slightly, as if her words struck a hidden wound. Maybe I need a reason too, he admitted. I've been alone for a long time. I don't know why I stopped tonight, but maybe it's because I was meant to. Maybe helping you will remind me of something I've been missing. The honesty in his voice startled her. Most men she had met pretended, lied, or hid their motives. But here he was, openly admitting he was lonely. She looked down at her baby, who was now sleeping more soundly under Michael's coat. The decision weighed heavily, but her motherly instinct made it for her. She couldn't risk her child's health, not when warmth and safety were right in front of her. Taking a deep breath, she nodded faintly. Okay, we'll come. Michael didn't smile in triumph or relief, he only nodded respectfully, as though acknowledging the trust she was extending. He opened the car door, waiting as Emily carefully stood, adjusting the baby against her chest. As she stepped into the plush leather interior, she felt an odd mix of shame and gratitude. She wasn't used to luxury, her life had been full of cramped apartments and budget buses. The car smelled faintly of leather and cedar, and the heater filled the space with warmth. Her baby sighed again, content. Michael slid behind the wheel, starting the engine, but his voice was quiet. Thank you for trusting me. Emily didn't respond right away. She still didn't know if she had made a mistake. Fear lingered in her chest, whispering of danger. Yet, as she glanced at her baby's relaxed face, she knew one truth: tonight, she had chosen survival. What she didn't yet realize was that this choice would not just save her child from the cold, it would also begin to thaw the frozen heart of the man sitting beside her. The ride to Michael's apartment was quiet, broken only by the hum of the engine and the soft breathing of Emily's baby, now finally asleep in the warmth. Emily kept her gaze fixed on the rain-streaked window, her arms protectively around her child. Her heart still pounded with unease, but fatigue weighed heavier. Michael, sensing her silence, didn't force conversation. He knew trust wasn't built in one night. Instead, he focused on driving smoothly through the city, his thoughts restless. He had closed billion-dollar deals with a single handshake, yet tonight he felt nervous, uncertain if he was doing the right thing. Still, the sight of that tiny child shivering haunted him. When they arrived, Michael parked in front of a towering glass building. Emily's eyes widened at the elegant lobby as they stepped inside. Marble floors gleamed, and the scent of fresh lilies floated in the air. She felt out of place in her worn nurse's shoes and damp uniform, clutching her baby like a shield. Just a place to rest, she reminded herself silently. Nothing more. In the elevator, she avoided his gaze, her reflection in the mirrored walls reminding her of how tired she looked. Yet when she glanced at Michael's reflection, she noticed something surprising, not arrogance, but weariness, almost like hers. The doors opened to the top floor. His penthouse unfolded like something from another world. Tall windows overlooking the glittering city, sleek furniture, soft rugs, and the quiet hum of modern appliances. Emily stopped in the doorway, her breath catching. Michael, noticing her hesitation, spoke gently. "You're safe here. You and your baby can rest as long as you need." She stepped inside cautiously, the baby stirring in her arms. Michael immediately walked to a console and adjusted the thermostat. Warm air filled the space, chasing away the chill that had clung to them since the bus stop. "Please, sit," he said, motioning to a wide, comfortable sofa. He disappeared briefly, returning with a soft blanket. Emily hesitated but finally settled onto the couch, wrapping the blanket around herself and her child. For the first time in days, she felt warmth seep into her bones. Michael went to the kitchen, where he busied himself clumsily with a kettle. He wasn't used to making tea, he usually had staff for that, but tonight he wanted to do it himself. A few minutes later, he placed a steaming cup before her, along with a glass of water and some biscuits. Emily blinked at the unexpected gesture. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. He sat across from her, careful not to crowd her. "It's nothing." They fell into a tentative quiet as Emily slowly drank, the warmth spreading through her chest. Her baby stirred, fussing softly. Before she could panic, Michael was already on his feet. "Wait here." He returned minutes later with a small box in his hands. "I had these delivered a while ago, baby supplies. Formula, bottles. I don't really know why I ordered them back then. Maybe, I thought I'd need them one day." His voice carried a strange vulnerability. Emily stared at him, stunned. Why would a man like him, who clearly lived alone, have baby supplies? She couldn't decide if it was coincidence or fate. But when he handed her the box, she accepted it gratefully, mixing a bottle for her son. The baby latched eagerly, his cries quieting. For a long time, Emily simply watched her child feed, tears pricking her eyes. She had been so afraid, so close to giving up hope. Yet here she was, in warmth, with her baby finally safe. Michael didn't interrupt. He watched silently, his chest tightening with an emotion he hadn't felt in years. Watching a mother care for her child filled the empty spaces of his penthouse with a sense of life he hadn't realized he craved. Eventually, Emily broke the silence. "Why are you helping us?" "Really?" Michael leaned back, his gaze distant. "Because I know what it's like to be alone. My parents died when I was young. I built everything I have, but, in the process, I lost something. People surround me, but none of them really stay. Tonight, when I saw you there with your baby, I couldn't drive away. Maybe because I saw myself, alone, fighting to survive, just in a different way." His honesty left her stunned. She had expected arrogance, pity, or even hidden motives. Instead, he had given her vulnerability, something rare and genuine. "I'm Emily," she finally said, her voice softer than before. "And this is Noah." She glanced at her baby with a small, tired smile. Michael repeated the names quietly, almost reverently. Emily. Noah. For the first time that night, she felt a fragile thread of trust weaving between them. Later, when Noah was asleep in the crib Michael had quickly assembled from storage, Emily stood by the large window, looking out at the glittering skyline. She still didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She couldn't imagine living in this world of glass and steel. But tonight, she and her baby weren't alone. Michael joined her at the window, keeping a respectful distance. "You don't have to decide anything now. Rest. Tomorrow, I'll help you figure things out. Whatever you choose." Emily nodded, her heart heavy but lighter than it had been in months. She wasn't ready to believe in miracles, but for the first time, she felt the faintest flicker of hope. As she turned to tuck Noah in once more, Michael stood silently, realizing something profound. For all his wealth and power, his life had been empty. Yet here, with a tired nurse and a sleeping baby under his roof, he felt something stir inside him, a sense of family, of belonging. And in that quiet, rain-washed night, both Emily and Michael began to believe that maybe, just maybe, this unexpected encounter wasn't chance at all, but the beginning of a new story neither had dared to dream.